Hello, guys. It is the AFL Yank back here again in time for my tips for, of course, the big dance coming in September, of course. It is, of course, AFL final season. It is absolute finals fever coming all throughout Australia in September. Just filled with so much promises and just filled with, apologies for that. Um, but yeah, so much promise heading in heading into September. I can't even speak, but it's gonna be pretty damn exciting. I gotta say, definitely plenty of entertaining matchups coming around the way heading in the finals. But yeah, if you're new to this channel and you're unfamiliar with the AFL, I will give a quick summary of how this season went. So, for the top seed, it is obviously. Now, we're going to do a quick rank down of all the sides that missed finals this year. But yeah, coming in 18th with possibly one of the worst percentages in the modern AFL excuse me, in the modern AFL has to be North Melbourne. They had an absolutely horrendous season. They literally only got 2 wins this whole year. They could have potentially gotten no wins at all. So the fact that they got 2 wins is impressive. But yeah, for the Roos, they beat Essendon, I believe, and then they had one of the biggest upsets of the year, beating the Richmond Tigers, who we will get to later on. But yeah, North Melbourne, they're getting Alistair Clarkson, so no worries for them. So they should be all right for future terms. It's very there is no way they don't win the wooden spoon next year. But yeah, North Melbourne back-to-back wooden spoons in 2021 and 2022. Hopefully things should get better under Clarko, but if Clarko somehow fails with this core, there's no doubt in my mind that North Melbourne just has such a bad culture with head coaches that even they can ruin Alistair Clarkson. But yeah. But hey, congratulations winning the Clarko sweepstakes, North. Then in 17th, the West Coast Eagles, who also only won 2 games this year. The Eagles and the Roos were just so bad this year, just absolutely terrible. But yeah, the Eagles, their 2 lone wins, they ended up coming against Collingwood early in the year, and then also the Eagles ended up beating North Melbourne. Oh no, wait, North Melbourne beat the Eagles. Never mind. So yeah, excuses for that for initially saying Essendon. That was obviously the Eagles. But yeah, the Eagles. The other side they beat was Essendon, and then literally I think 2 weeks later, 2 weeks later they beat the Swans. So yeah. But yeah, Eagles just a mess. Then in 16th, GWS, absolute plummet of a fall down from. Absolute letdown from what they provided last year. They were looking like a destined final side this year. Like everyone thought they would be a finals destined side this year, and they just completely fell apart. They absolutely fell apart. Leon Cameron's gone. They ended up interring obviously Jared McVeigh's brother. And now the new head coach at GWS is actually going to be one of the assistants from Richmond. And gotta say, he's pretty buff. I gotta say, no homo, but yeah. Okay, that was a bit awkward, but still. But yeah, GWS just a massive mess of a season. Just they got nothing going. But hey, they should have a top pick. Then Essendon in 15th ends up missing out once again. They made finals last year and they just absolutely plummeted this year. They had a good run late in the year, but that also fell apart as they absolutely got destroyed by Port and then also lost in the last week as well to Richmond. Then in 14th, the Adelaide Crows. They had some highlights in the year, like they did beat Carlton, but yeah, not really a great season from the Crows. But they are on the up, which is a good thing. They're a bit slow, but they'll eventually get there. But yeah, Hawthorn basically in a similar side to the Crows. They had an alright season. I actually thought a lot of people did see them as a sleeper for finals this year, which is pretty interesting to think about. But yeah, Hawks, just an okay rebuilding year. They could make a. I do think they could make a shot at finals in like 2 years or something like that if they continue to keep going the way they are. Also, Crows, they might get a good boost with them potentially getting Isaac Rankin. It's already been announced that he wants a trade back home. And then coming in 12th, tying their highest ladder finish in their club's young history, the only side to actually never make the 8 out of all the current sides, the Gold Coast Suns. They end up tying their best ladder finish to date, 12th, which they tied it from their finish in 2014. But yeah, pretty solid season from the Suns. They were sneaky to make finals for a majority of the year. They were in the hunt, but yeah, they just lost to better sides. But they did have some great upset wins, especially at Metricon. They were just an absolute. They had some great games this year. Really sucks that they can't keep the culture though. That just makes me like I will admit like even though the Suns always seem to be the Swans' bogey side on most occasions, I gotta admit I respect the hell out of them. I feel really bad for them, man. I feel really bad for the Suns. But yeah, just the factor that there's no major players that have come from the Gold Coast or like there's no real loyalty from any players in like their club's history, even those who've stayed for long. Like example, obviously the great Gary Ablett, Jr. obviously, as well as Tom Lynch. But yeah, imagine if the Suns had kept like Charlie Dixon, Adam Sod. Imagine if they kept those players. They could be a really scary side right now. But it's just unfortunate. Just so many players just play the go-home card there. It's really sad. But yeah, great season from the Suns, though. Mabir Chol, he had a great year. Definitely had a great year breaking out from him departing the Tigers. And, yeah. Then coming in 11th, Port Adelaide, they have the worst drop-off along with GWS in terms of ladder finish compared to last year. They end up dropping from 2nd to 11th. And Port, they end up becoming victims. They end up becoming part of the victims of the top 4 curse, where at least one of the top 4 sides ends up dropping out the following year. And it doesn't even matter if it's just regular season. Like if they finish top 4 finals wise, they fall out. There's been so many sides who have fallen victim to this. Hawthorn in 2018, GWS, despite finishing 7th, they obviously finished as runner-ups in 2019, getting blown out in the grand final by Richmond. They ended up falling apart. They ended up missing finals the following year. And then in 2021, it was... the 2021, I forgot who it was, but I'm pretty sure it was Collingwood. Who was it? Collingwood, Port Ridge. Oh, it was obviously the defending premiers in Richmond. It was obviously the defending premiers in Richmond who obviously missed out in 2021. And now this year it's Port. They end up falling victim. But yeah. Then coming in 10th is St. Kilda. They end up missing finals once again. They had some very disappointing games. Now, I will admit, they did have a very strong performance against the Swans, but just was not enough, and they weren't even making finals anyways. But yeah, lots of opportunities to make finals this year. They just absolutely blew it. Just St. Kilda, they had a good start to the season, too, and I really thought the Saints were actually going to make finals, but no. But no, 20 it continues to prove that 2020 was a complete fluke. So was a complete fluke in regards so far. But yeah, just a mess from St. Kilda. Just a very messy finish, especially at the game against Brisbane. They had so many opportunities, and Max King could have kicked 5 goals against them, and then they just completely blew it. And finally, coming in ninth, literally having been in the top 8 all year, missing out in the final week, losing by 1 point. They literally lost by 1 point to get in the finals. Carlton. What an absolute dud of a finish to complete the year. It is just so laughably bad. I am so sorry, Blue supporters, but my god. That collapse was amazing. Just what an absolute horrible finish. The Crows might have actually damaged them. I am not even kidding. The Crows lost, absolutely messed them up. Just absolutely messed the hell out of them. But yeah. What a choke, Carlton. What a choke. If you had literally won against Collingwood, if you had held that lead, you would have been in finals. But no, you blew it all. And the last time someone else did it was actually your own side in 1977. What an absolute horrible finish. My god. But this is the greatest comedy since The Chaser. Probably anything The Chaser's freaking done. I'm obviously joking, of course, but yeah. Alright, now on to the final sides. Sneaking into 8th was the Western Bulldogs. They literally roamed around the top. They literally flirted around the bottom of the top 8 for a good chunk of weeks after having a really bad start to the year. But yeah, not a bad season from the Doggies. They had a good run late. Just really picked up the pace. Everything clicked for them. The Doggies are just probably the luckiest side to make finals, in my opinion. Just absolutely lucky. And then coming in 7th is obviously the Tigers. They were very mixed bag. When they lost to North, I had no hope they would make finals. Just absolutely no hope. And no Dustin Martin either for them. But even with those limitations and the things that would seemingly backfire them, they still made finals. A decent recovery from last year. But yeah, they could have actually finished. Well, actually no, they would have finished in the same position if they had beaten Frio. Actually, no, they would be a ladder higher in this. They would be 6th. But regardless, yeah. Solid season from the Tigers. They looked pretty good. Really, really good. Then in 6th is the Brisbane Lions. Another massively disappointing season from the Lions. They looked pretty good early on. They were in the hunt for top 4 all year. And then all of a sudden they just absolutely dipped late in the season. They blew a 44-point lead against the freaking Tigers at the MCG. Yeah, not good at all. Not good at all. I mean, the Lions haven't even won at the MCG in 8 years. And that was when they were so awful. That was when they were literally shit. That was the last time they ever won at the goddamn MCG. They have just been so awful. It's an absolute travesty. If the Lions had found ways to win at the MCG and better be prepared in big games, they would have had a flag by now. They should have won a flag by now, but they've gotten worse, and now their chances of a flag are getting really dim. Unless they do a 2004 Port Adelaide type comeback, I do not see the Lions doing well at all. Like, I do not see the Lions not really going far in finals. But yeah. Then in fifth, Frio, they barely miss out on the top four. After all the flag mantle hype, they end up missing out on the top four. They will get a home final, though, which will be a massive benefit for them. But they just they lost some key games. They did play really well, but they could have done better. They could have done better. It's just the competition was stronger for them. But I mean, it's Frio's first year in finals in like 7 years. They're finally maturing really well. They remind me a lot of the Swans last year. Frio definitely remind me a lot of last year's Swans. They finally got good after missing finals for a couple years, and yeah, they look solid. And then in fourth, it's Collingwood, the team that nobody expected to make a big rise this year. They literally go from 17th last year to 4th. Just what a massive improvement by the Pies. It's absolutely amazing how good they got. Like, they have a great young core. The Dacos brothers. Jack Ginnivan, I have respect for him. Like, that Collingwood side is really freaking good. They could definitely turn some heads in finals. Like, no doubts about that. I could definitely see them getting a bit far. They got the core to do it. But yeah, they've won, 12 of their last 13 games. The only side to beat them was the Swans. Which makes things even more impressive. And speaking of that, let's get to the Swannies. What an improvement the Swans have done. Like, back in June and July, like right when July started, I was just absolutely floundered with the Swans. Like, my God. Like, our hopes for top 8 as a whole were just on the brink of just collapsing. Just everything was not clicking well. Just absolutely not clicking well at all. And then all of a sudden, like after that Essendon loss, just something clicked. Everything just freaking clicked. Like bringing in Robbie Fox and Ryan Clark alongside with some great, the big names, obviously, the McCartan brothers, Buddy, Papley, Heaney, Mills. A massive breakout year from Chad Warner, who has just been so freaking good. My God, he is so freaking good. It could only make me so hard, man. Just, my God, this Swan side is so freaking good. Just so scary good. I'm proud of it. To go from 8th to from 8th to 3rd in like a month is like very impressive, even when things didn't go our way. Then the D's come in second, very strong year. They're defending their title pretty well. I definitely gotta say that. They have been defending their title really well. And I definitely see another successful year for the D's. It's very much in the works. And then finally, the team with the best record all year, 18-4, the Geelong Cats. When everybody thought they would drop off because they're old, because their players getting old, they only got better. Like, their ball movement looks a lot better than it used to be. They look well focused. They have now the longest winning streak. They won like 13 in a row, I think. Just, the Cats have been so freaking good this year. Just an absolutely dominant side who could pack a punch. They have definitely been a very strong side. And they're doing really well. And yeah, Chris Scott's still doing his thing. Same thing, obviously, with the great John Longmire with the Swans. Just this core. The Cats look really good. That's all I gotta say. Alright, now let's get to the finals predictions. That was just basically my quick overview of every side, and yeah. So for the first quarterfinal, it is going to be the Cats versus the Pies. Pies, can they just keep up the energy they've had against like every team? And the Cats obviously dominating continue to dominate. Just a very scary core. Now, there's a likability they will not be playing at GMHBA. So, yeah, this game will be at the MCG most likely. Cats versus... But yeah, this is definitely going to be a very intriguing matchup, but I just feel like the Cats are going to be too good for the Pies. I gotta say it. I think the Cats get to the prelim. I think they're scary good. I mean, we already saw how the Pies could do against the top tier side. I mean, look at how they did against the Swans. I mean, yes, they did beat the Ds, but they just always seem to dominate the Ds. Meanwhile, you see sides like, of course, obviously the Swans dominated them at the SCG. And, yeah. But yeah, very intriguing matchup, but I don't really seeing it being that close. I think the Cats will get a pretty good win. I'm going to say Cats by 4 goals. And then the first elimination final, which will be at Optus, Frio versus the Western Bulldogs. The Doggies had a very solid run to end the season. They kind of got lucky, but they had their moments. Like, I was a little bit surprised to see the Doggies get to finals, to be honest. Like, I thought they would miss out. But regardless, very, very strong run to conclude the season. Same thing with Frio, but I do not see another Cinderella story run for the Dogs, unfortunately, like they did last year, where they ended up losing in the grand final big to the Ds. But yeah, I do not see the Doggies repeating their run from last year. I see them losing. I honestly see them going their same ways that they've done in finals in recent years, like post 2016. Yeah, sorry, Doggies, you're out. I'm going to go with Frio to win this game. And then next, it is the Brisbane Lions versus Richmond. The Lions, notorious for choking in finals, and the Tigers, who are looking really good as of late, just a very... Like, people are continuously trying to describe them as a sneaky for the flag. That's how good the Tigers have been recognized for many people. Like, supposedly they're flag good. I won't necessarily say they're flag good, but the Lions are not in good form at all. Just, they have been in terrible form. I mean, you lose to the goddamn D. You get blown out by the Ds at home. You get blown out by the Ds at the GABA in embarrassing fashion. You lost to Richmond, blowing a goddamn 44-point lead at the MCG. Just miserable from the Lions. I mean, I know they've made the GABA their fortress, but I'm sorry. I think the Tigers are going to be too good for the Lions. Unless the Lions have a 2004 Port Adelaide run, they are not going far. I do not see a 2004 Port Adelaide type story from the Lions, unfortunately. Yep, I'm going with the Tigers to win this game. They should get the job done. And, yeah. And finally, the other qualifying final, it is going to be the Ds versus the Swans. But yeah, the Ds, they've surprisingly not been that great at the MCG. It's been a little bit of a liability for them as a whole. And meanwhile, for the Swans, they've only played 2 games at the MCG, but they played absolutely well against the Ds at the MCG this year. I know the other game was obviously Essendon, where they obviously ended up losing in embarrassing fashion. But regardless, though, the Swans' pressure at the MCG, it looks like the Swans are definitely in favor of playing in a big venue like the MCG. I mean, we've seen it, see them play really well at the SCG. They take really good advantage of it, and it pays off well. But yeah, I'm going to go with an upset here. I'm going to say it. The Swans will upset the Ds. They have the opportunity to do it. They have absolutely dominated against the top against the top tier sides. Just the Swans are up to the goddamn challenge. They have been so freaking good. They just bring it on against the top tier sides. It's just absolutely amazing. Just absolutely amazing to witness it. Like we saw it against the D's. We saw it against the Cats, where obviously Buddy kicked his 1,000. We saw it against Collingwood. And we even saw it against Freo at Optus. Like, I didn't even expect us to beat Freo at Optus. We've just been so freaking good. Just great form. I know we were a bit off against St. Kilda, but still. Just fantastic form. Just overall great form from the Swans as of late. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Swans to upset Freo by 15 points. And I forgot to mention the other tips, but I'm going to go with Freo to beat the Doggies by 32 points, and then the Tigers to upset the Lions by 6 points by a goal in a very close, thrilling game. And the next are the semifinals, Collingwood versus Freo at the MCG. Now listen, the Dockers had a great run this year, but I just think the Pies are going to be up to the challenge. I think this is where they're going to really take it on here. But yeah, I got the Pies winning this game. But yeah, I have Collingwood winning this game by 5 points in an ultimate thriller. The Dockers will definitely be up to the challenge. I mean, they've been really good in Victoria this year. But I just feel like the Pies are going to be really geared in this game. So yeah, I'm going to go Collingwood to beat Freo by 7 points, since it is at the MCG. And you know if Pies fans really do turn up at the MCG. Then next, it is the D's versus the Tigers. This could definitely be a very intriguing matchup. But yeah, it's once again at the MCG. But yeah, even with the Tigers, even though they've had a very solid run, I honestly do not see them getting past the D's. I think the D's will recover really well in this game. They've been scary good as of late as well. So yeah, there's no way the D's lose this game. But yeah, I'm gonna have them beat the Tigers by 27 points. The Tigers will definitely have some good competition early on, but I think they will fall short. Yeah, regardless though, solid run from the Tigers late this year, but I just don't think it will be enough to get past the semis. And then the prelim. Geelong versus Melbourne and the Swans versus the Pies. It's definitely going to be interesting if this is somehow at GMHBA, but it's very likely at the MCG. But yeah, for the Cats, they faced the D's, I believe, on a couple of occasions. Obviously, they did face the D's this year. But yeah, of course, pretty sure it was 2 matchups, if I'm not wrong, which I will check in just a second. But yeah, obviously, Cats and D's, they've had some very intriguing matchups this year. Just very, very intriguing. In the matchup they faced against one another, which was at GMHBA, of course the Cats ended up winning that game by 28 points. And I would not be surprised if this was a thriller. This could definitely go down to the wire. I think both the D's and Cats will definitely be very, very intrigued of getting to the grand final. But yeah, in the end, I'm going to go with the Cats to win this game. I think they'll be too strong for the D's to handle. I see the Cats winning this game by 7 points. And the next, it is the Swans at the Pies at the SCG. This is going to be a very, very intriguing game. But yeah, even regardless of that, I think the Swans will definitely... the Pies will definitely bring it up to the challenge like they did initially, but Unfortunately, I just don't think it will be enough for them to get past the Swans. I think with the Swans being at the SCG, it will definitely give them plenty of advantage. And I see a repeat of round 22, and I see the Swans getting to the grand final. And here we go, the grand final, the Cats versus the Swans. This is definitely going to be a very entertaining grand final if it happens. But yeah, I think, in my opinion, the Cats, I think, will lead throughout the first half, and then the Swans have a massive comeback run in the second half with an ultimate game-sealing goal by Tom Papley in the final waning minutes. And I got the Swans winning this game by 11 points. Book it. I got the Swannies winning the grand final this year. I think they have the core to do it. They've been absolutely dominant against the top-tier sides all year. Just, this side has matured so freaking well all year. I am just so proud of it. I just see the Swans at least getting to the granny. At, just in the best case scenario. They've just absolutely handled the pressure incredibly well. But yeah, that's my pick for the granny. I'm going to go with the Swans to win it. Just they have the job to do it. I mean, they finished third. I mean, every time they finish third under the current finals format, the other 2 years obviously being 2005 and 2012, obviously the Swans won the final that year. They obviously won the flag this year, and I honestly see this year could definitely be a repeat. I'm just so intrigued by the Swans. Just the amazing growth that they've had since July, since the Essendon loss, is just so dang impressive. There's just no way I just think they have such a strong opportunity to win the granny this year. It's definitely possible. But yeah, regardless though, those are my tips for the finals of 2022. And I hope you enjoyed this, guys. I am the AFL Yank, signing out. And by the way, my round 23 tips, I'll make it quick. Got 8 out of 9 correct. Nothing short of that, but yeah. Anyways, guys, I'm signing out. Gonna be cheering hard for America, watching the finals, rooting for the Swannies. Come on, Swannies!